What makes a great teacher? Is it experience, a prestigious degree, or something far more powerful, an ability to inspire change? The classroom was buzzing with quiet murmurs, the scent of dry erase markers lingering in the air. Lisa Carter stepped to the front of the room, scanning the sea of skeptical faces before her. The students at Westwood Academy, dressed in their perfectly pressed uniforms, looked at her with mild curiosity, some already exchanging knowing smirks. She could almost hear their unspoken thoughts. Another temporary teacher. She won't last a month. But Lisa had never been one to back down. She believed that education was about more than just textbooks and exams. It was about inspiring students, helping them see beyond their limitations, and showing them that they were capable of achieving greatness. It was about inspiring students, helping them see beyond their limitations, and showing them that they were capable of achieving greatness. So when she was assigned as a temporary teacher at Westwood Academy, one of the most prestigious schools in the state, she saw it as an opportunity to make a difference. However, from the moment Lisa stepped into the school, she realized the challenges ahead. Westwood Academy prided itself on excellence, but at times, that pursuit of excellence created an environment where status seemed to matter more than effort. Teachers looked down on those from less privileged backgrounds, and students mirrored their attitudes. Lisa, with her modest demeanor and unconventional teaching style, was met with skepticism and outright disrespect. On her first day, students exchanged amused glances as she introduced herself, their whispers barely concealed. Some murmured jokes under their breath, their tones a mix of amusement and condescension. Lisa could feel the weight of their skepticism pressing against her, a silent but clear challenge. She steadied herself, masking any trace of unease, and met their gazes with quiet determination. A few students deliberately leaned back in their chairs, arms crossed, as if challenging her authority without saying a word. Others made a point of checking their phones or doodling in their notebooks while she spoke. It was clear they saw her as just another temporary teacher who wouldn't last long. Her students were among the worst offenders. Many of them came from wealthy families, believing their success was guaranteed due to their lineage rather than their efforts. They dismissed Lisa as just another temporary teacher who wouldn't last long. Some students openly ignored her lessons, whispering amongst themselves or checking their phones as she spoke. Others challenged her authority, making sarcastic remarks and questioning her qualifications. Lisa, however, remained patient. She had faced this kind of behavior before, and she knew that real change would take time. Instead of reacting with frustration, she observed each student closely, trying to understand their motivations and behaviors. She noticed that the ones who acted out the most often had the greatest insecurities, masking their self-doubt with arrogance. Rather than enforcing strict discipline, she opted for a different approach, one that would make the students question their own perspectives rather than resenting her authority. To subtly challenge their biases, Lisa integrated lessons that forced them to think beyond their social circles. She assigned thought-provoking essays on the importance of perseverance and the fallacy of entitlement. She used real-world examples of innovators who had come from humble beginnings, proving that success wasn't inherited but earned. Some students rolled their eyes at first, but she noticed small shifts in their attitudes over time. The classroom's air of arrogance began to crack, ever so slightly. One particular incident solidified Lisa's belief that she was making progress. During a discussion on social inequality, a typically outspoken student named Evelyn scoffed at the idea that hard work alone determined success. "People like us will always have an advantage," she said smugly. "It's just how the world works." Instead of shutting Evelyn down, Lisa asked, "Do you believe that advantage is fair? Do you think it's something that should be accepted as the way things are? Or do you think it's something that can and should change?" She let the question hang in the air, allowing Evelyn and the rest of the class to truly consider it. A moment of silence stretched between them before another student, Jason, hesitantly spoke up. "But if it's always been this way, how do we even begin to change it?" he asked, his voice uncertain but genuinely curious. Lisa nodded, acknowledging the weight of his question. That's exactly why we need to have these conversations. Change starts with recognizing the problem. Once we acknowledge it, we can start finding solutions both individually and as a society. She glanced around the room. It's not about guilt or blame. It's about responsibility. The energy in the classroom shifted. Some students exchanged glances, while others seemed lost in thought. For the first time, Lisa felt that they weren't just hearing her, they were engaging with the idea, questioning their perspectives in a way they never had before. Evelyn hesitated. A few students chuckled, waiting for Lisa to contradict her. But instead, Lisa continued, "I don't want the answer you think I want to hear. I want the answer you believe." There was a pause before Evelyn finally said, "I guess. I never really thought about it that way." It was a small moment, but a significant one. The class grew silent, and for the first time, Lisa felt that she wasn't just talking at them, she was reaching them. Bit by bit, the barriers of entitlement and indifference were breaking down. Lisa knew she still had a long way to go, but these small victories gave her the encouragement to keep pushing forward. One student, in particular, stood out: Ryan Mitchell. Unlike his peers, Ryan wasn't privileged. He was at Westwood on a scholarship, but had given up on proving himself. Constantly told he would never measure up, he had stopped trying. Teachers ignored him, and students ridiculed him. He sat in the back of the class, disengaged and indifferent, avoiding eye contact and barely completing assignments. Lisa, however, saw something in Ryan that others didn't. Instead of reprimanding him for his lack of participation, she started giving him challenges, small mathematical problems disguised as puzzles. At first, Ryan ignored them, but as days passed, curiosity got the better of him, and he began solving them in secret. The problems Lisa gave him weren't just random exercises. They were designed to push his critical thinking skills, to awaken the analytical mind that she knew was hidden beneath his apathy. To further encourage him, Lisa began subtly praising his work, leaving notes on his desk that read, "Impressive approach. Have you considered another method? Or this solution is creative, keep going." She never singled him out in front of the class, but instead made her encouragement feel personal and private, giving him room to build confidence at his own pace. One day, Ryan found a book on advanced mathematical theories placed on his desk. It wasn't assigned reading, nor had anyone mentioned it. He glanced at Lisa, who merely smiled and continued teaching. That night, he flipped through the pages, something stirring in him that had long been dormant, a hunger for knowledge. Slowly, Lisa noticed more changes. Ryan, once the last to arrive and the first to leave, now stayed behind after class. One afternoon, as the last of the students filtered out, Lisa approached him. "You know, I've noticed the effort you've been putting in lately," she said warmly. "You're asking great questions, taking the time to really understand. That's what makes a great learner, Ryan." Ryan looked down for a moment, then met her gaze. "I guess. I just never thought I was good enough before. But now, I want to try." Lisa smiled. "You always were good enough. You just needed to see it for yourself." His classmates, initially surprised by his shift in behavior, began to notice. Some whispered about his newfound dedication, while others started seeking his help with their own assignments. A few students who had once ignored him now nodded in quiet acknowledgement when they passed by. For the first time, Ryan wasn't just another face in the background, he was earning respect. His classmates, initially surprised by his shift in behavior, began to notice. Some whispered about his newfound dedication, while others started seeking his help with their own assignments. A few students who had once ignored him now nodded in quiet acknowledgement when they passed by. For the first time, Ryan wasn't just another face in the background, he was earning respect. He started taking notes, something he had never done before. He began asking questions timidly at first, then with increasing confidence. He even surprised himself one day when he corrected a classmate's mistake on the board without hesitation. The class was stunned. "Looks like we have a mathematician among us," Lisa said, her voice light but sincere. Ryan's ears burned, but this time it wasn't from shame, it was from a quiet, growing pride. What Lisa saw in Ryan was not just intelligence, but resilience. She knew that a mind like his needed guidance, not punishment. With the right push, he could do more than just survive at Westwood, he could thrive. And for the first time in a long time, Ryan started to believe that, too. The day Lisa left, she received a letter from Ryan. Unlike the usual thank you notes she had occasionally received, this one felt different, heavier, more significant. She carefully unfolded the crisp paper and began reading. Ms. Carter, because of you, I applied for a math scholarship. I got in. Thank you for showing me I was worth believing in. Lisa exhaled slowly, her fingers lingering over the edges of the letter. She read it again, letting the words settle into her heart. It was a simple message, yet it spoke volumes. She could picture Ryan sitting down to write it, perhaps hesitating before putting pen to paper, struggling to find the right words. And yet, he had found them. Her thoughts drifted back to the first day she had met him, the quiet, withdrawn boy in the back of the class, burdened by self-doubt and isolation. The transformation he had undergone was nothing short of extraordinary, but Lisa knew it wasn't just about math. Ryan had discovered confidence, self-worth, and the belief that he was capable of something greater. And now, he was stepping into a future he never thought was meant for him. She folded the letter carefully and placed it inside her bag, knowing she would treasure it forever. It wasn't just a thank you note, it was a reminder of why she had chosen this path. It reaffirmed her belief that teaching wasn't just about lessons and grades, it was about unlocking potential, about seeing something in a student that they couldn't yet see in themselves. Westwood Academy would move on, the students would graduate, and new teachers would take her place. But Lisa knew that the lessons she had instilled, the small but profound changes she had sparked, would not fade. They would live on in students like Ryan, who would carry them forward into their own futures. Because true teaching wasn't about status or prestige, it was about empowering students to see their own potential, giving them the tools to shape their futures, and inspiring a lifelong love for learning. As Lisa stepped outside the school gates one last time, she felt a sense of fulfillment, but also anticipation. Her next destination awaited a struggling inner-city school, where students had been written off before they even had a chance. She didn't know exactly what challenges lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain. There would always be more students who needed someone to believe in them. And she was ready. Lessons and key takeaways from Lisa's story. Lisa Carter's journey as a temporary teacher at Westwood Academy teaches us valuable lessons about perseverance, empathy, and the true impact of education. Her story goes beyond the classroom, touching on the deeper aspects of human connection, the power of belief, and the role of mentorship in shaping lives. It shows that a single individual, armed with passion and determination, can make an extraordinary difference in the lives of others. Here are the core takeaways from her story. 1. True teaching is about inspiration, not just information. Lisa understood that her job wasn't just to teach formulas and concepts, it was to awaken curiosity and belief in her students. She didn't demand respect. She earned it by showing them the value of learning. More importantly, she demonstrated that knowledge is not just about passing tests, but about equipping students with the skills and confidence to navigate the world. She took a dynamic approach, using real-world examples, hands-on experiments, and engaging storytelling to help students see how what they were learning applied to life outside the classroom. Instead of simply reciting formulas, she had students apply mathematical concepts to personal finance, architecture, and even sports statistics, making learning both relevant and exciting. She fostered an environment where mistakes were stepping stones to understanding, not failures to be ashamed of. By making her lessons engaging and meaningful, she inspired students who had never cared about education before to rethink their approach to learning. Students who had once been indifferent began raising their hands, eager to participate in discussions. They started collaborating, challenging each other's ideas, and developing a love for problem-solving. Lisa didn't just teach, she sparked a passion for learning that would stay with them long after they left her classroom. 2. Breaking barriers requires patience and understanding. Lisa's students were resistant at first, but instead of forcing change, she led by example. She demonstrated that success isn't about privilege, but about effort and persistence, helping her students challenge their own biases. She understood that students often resisted learning for a variety of reasons. Some lacked confidence. Others had been conditioned to believe that education was merely an obligation rather than an opportunity. Instead of dismissing their resistance, Lisa took the time to understand it. She engaged in one-on-one conversations, listening to their frustrations and fears. By acknowledging their struggles, she built trust and opened doors to meaningful dialogue. Slowly, she began to dismantle their misconceptions, showing them that knowledge was more than just something to memorize for a test. It was a tool for personal growth and empowerment. She introduced them to stories of individuals who had overcome adversity through education, helping them see real-world examples of how learning could change lives. She encouraged students to take ownership of their education, turning passive learning into active discovery. As time went on, the students who had once dismissed her class began to participate more. Lisa's ability to connect with them on a personal level helped shift their perspectives, and soon, even the most reluctant students found themselves engaged. They no longer saw education as something being forced upon them, but as a key to unlocking their own potential. 3. Believing in someone can change their life. Ryan's transformation from an overlooked student to a scholarship recipient is proof that a single person's belief can alter the course of another's life. Lisa's quiet encouragement gave him the confidence to see his own potential. Early on, Ryan had internalized the idea that he was destined for mediocrity. Years of being ignored or dismissed by teachers had made him hesitant to try, fearful that his efforts would go unnoticed or, worse, ridiculed. Lisa saw through the apathy and recognized that beneath his silence was a mind waiting to be challenged. She didn't push him aggressively, but instead nurtured his confidence with small but meaningful gestures acknowledging his progress, giving him challenging but solvable problems, and ensuring he knew that she saw his efforts. Over time, that belief began to take root. Ryan started sitting closer to the front, asking questions, and even helping his peers when they struggled. His classmates, who once ignored him, began to respect him for his insights. He wasn't just improving in math, he was reshaping the way he saw himself. By the time he applied for a scholarship, he wasn't just hoping for a chance. He knew he deserved one. This lesson extends beyond the classroom, whether in schools, workplaces, or personal relationships. Belief in someone's abilities can be the catalyst they need to overcome self-doubt and achieve greatness. So many people walk through life burdened by limiting beliefs, never realizing their full potential simply because no one has ever told them they could. Ryan's story serves as a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one voice of support to spark real change. Imagine the impact we could have if more people chose to uplift and encourage those around them. A simple word of affirmation, a small act of mentorship, or even just acknowledging someone's efforts can be life-changing. Lisa's belief in Ryan didn't just change his grades, it changed the course of his entire future. 4. Education is a tool for social change. By challenging her students' perspectives on privilege and responsibility, Lisa didn't just teach math, she instilled lessons that would help shape them into more thoughtful, responsible individuals in society. She encouraged them to question the status quo, to think beyond their personal experiences, and to consider how education could be a tool for empowerment rather than just a requirement. Education has the power to open minds, break generational cycles, and create opportunities where they previously seemed impossible. Many of Lisa's students had never considered how their access to high-quality education was a privilege in itself. Through discussions, debates, and real-world applications, she helped them see that knowledge wasn't just about getting good grades, it was about understanding the world and shaping it for the better. Lisa introduced case studies of individuals from diverse backgrounds who had used education to uplift themselves and their communities. She brought in guest speakers, assigned projects that required students to analyze social issues through a mathematical lens, and encouraged research into policies that shaped access to learning. Her students began to realize that education wasn't just something they consumed, it was something they could use to affect change. Over time, Lisa saw her students develop a sense of responsibility, not just for their own futures, but for the world around them. Some started volunteering as tutors for underprivileged students, while others initiated discussions on how to make their own school environment more inclusive. Lisa's approach showed that learning should never be confined to textbooks. It should challenge students to think critically, engage actively, and recognize their role in shaping society for the better. 5. Making a difference doesn't require a lifetime in one place. Lisa knew her impact wasn't about staying in one school forever. It was about leaving a lasting impression that would continue even after she was gone. Her journey shows that true changemakers go where they are needed most. She believed that every new challenge presented an opportunity to reach more students, to open more minds, and to spark more transformations like Ryan's. This lesson is particularly important for those who feel like they need to stay in one place to create an impact. Lisa's story proves that even in a short period, a dedicated and passionate individual can transform lives and leave behind a legacy of inspiration and growth. The measure of a teacher's success is not in how long they stay in one place, but in how deeply they can inspire change in those they teach. As Lisa packed up her things and prepared to leave Westwood Academy, she reflected on everything she had built. The hesitant glances from students that had turned into eager engagement, the walls of indifference that had crumbled into curiosity, and the knowledge that she had helped shift the course of lives in ways both big and small. Though her time there had come to an end, the lessons she had taught would continue to ripple outward. She wasn't sure exactly where she would go next: a struggling inner-city school, a rural community in need of support, or perhaps a program dedicated to training new educators. But she knew that wherever she went, she would carry the same mission: to empower students, challenge outdated systems, and prove that education is not just about facts and figures, but about growth, confidence, and the belief that anyone can achieve greatness if given the right support. Lisa's story reminds us that the greatest teachers don't just impart knowledge, they shape lives. They see potential where others see failure. They uplift when others criticize, and they foster resilience where there was once self-doubt. Have you ever had a teacher who changed the way you saw yourself or the world? Perhaps someone who made you believe in yourself when no one else did? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to follow and subscribe to Toch Story for more inspiring narratives about life, perseverance, and human connection. By subscribing, you'll never miss a powerful story that could change the way you see the world. Stay tuned for our next thought-provoking video.